Ladies and gentlemen, confidence is a beautiful quality. It gives us the courage to walk into a room with our head held high, to speak with clarity, and to face challenges without trembling. But there is a fine line between confidence and arrogance. Cross that line, and what was once inspiring becomes irritating. So, how do we strike that balance? How can we glow without blinding others? Many people misunderstand confidence. They think being confident means showing others how great they are, how much they know, or how successful they have become. But true confidence doesn't come from making others feel small. It comes from knowing your own worth without needing to prove it. Think about the sun. The sun never screams, "Look how bright I am." It simply shines, and the whole world acknowledges its light. But imagine if the sun started competing with every lamp or candle. It would look ridiculous. In the same way, confidence means shining without comparison. Arrogance, however, is when someone believes the only way to feel taller is by making someone else look shorter. Have you noticed when some people talk, their sentences are filled with words that highlight only themselves? I achieved this. I know that I did everything. They forget that others are equally valuable, equally human. True confidence doesn't need to shout or push others down. It knows that respecting others doesn't reduce your own value, it actually increases it. There is a small story that illustrates this. A humble bamboo tree and a tall oak once grew side by side. The oak boasted, "Look at me, I am so tall and strong while you are thin and weak." The bamboo simply stayed quiet. One day, a storm came. The oak tried to resist with pride, but broke under pressure. The bamboo, flexible and humble, survived the storm. This is what confidence looks like. It bends, it adapts. It knows its own strength without needing to boast. Arrogance, on the other hand, stands rigid until it breaks. When you truly know your worth, you stop needing validation from others. You don't have to prove you're better. You just have to be yourself. Think about it. If you pour perfume into a room, it quietly spreads its fragrance. It doesn't scream, "Smell me, smell me." Confidence is that fragrance. Arrogance is like strong smoke, loud, choking, and often pushes people away. So, how do we practice this in daily life? By reminding ourselves that everyone we meet has something valuable within them. The janitor who cleans the office, the teacher who inspires, the driver who takes us home safely, all of them have dignity. Knowing your worth should never make you forget the worth of others. Real confidence is silent power. It is strength without aggression, success without pride, and growth without comparison. Once you know your worth, you no longer need to look down on anyone, because you realize that every person is walking their own journey, fighting their own battles, and carrying their own value. One of the greatest signs of true confidence is the ability to listen. You see, People often think speaking more shows power, but in reality, it is listening that shows strength. Why? Because listening means you are secure enough not to dominate every conversation. Listening means you respect the voice of another. Arrogance, on the other hand, is when someone feels the need to constantly prove they are right, to fill every silence with their words, and to dismiss what others have to say. Confidence whispers, I value your perspective too, while arrogance shouts, only my opinion matters. Think about this. When we meet someone who speaks endlessly about themselves, we often feel drained. But when we meet someone who listens with patience and genuine attention, we walk away feeling valued. People rarely remember what you say, but they always remember how you made them feel. A confident person makes you feel heard. An arrogant person makes you feel invisible. There is a story of a wise teacher who once sat quietly while his students debated a topic. They argued loudly, each trying to sound smarter than the other. Finally, the teacher smiled and said, "You all spoke to prove you are right, but not one of you listened to understand the other." Wisdom comes not from speaking much, but from listening deeply. That is the power of listening. It turns knowledge into wisdom and relationships into real connections. When you listen, you don't just hear words. You hear emotions, intentions, and unspoken thoughts. A confident person doesn't fear silence because they know silence is often where truth lives. Arrogance fears silence because silence means they are not in control. Have you noticed how some people interrupt often? It's because they want to dominate, not understand. But the strongest leaders, the most loved friends, and the wisest guides are those who listen more than they talk. Listening is also the best way to learn. Every person we meet knows something we don't. By listening, we open doors to new perspectives, fresh ideas, and hidden wisdom. Arrogance closes those doors with the thought, I already know everything. Confidence, however, says, let me hear more. Maybe there's something valuable for me to learn here. Now, so, if you want to be truly confident, don't try to be the loudest voice in the room. Instead, be the one who gives others the gift of your attention. Listening is not weakness. It is one of the deepest forms of respect. And respect, my friends, is the language of true confidence. Many of us are surprisingly uncomfortable when someone praises us. If a friend says, "You did a wonderful job," we quickly deny it. "Oh no, it was nothing." Or we rush to over-explain. "Well, I just got lucky." On the other side, some people swing the opposite way. They take a small compliment and expand it into a speech about how talented, hardworking, or superior they are. But both extremes, denial and boasting, come from the same root, insecurity. True confidence lies in a middle path, accepting compliments gracefully. When someone appreciates you, they are offering a gift. If you reject it, you insult the giver. If you boast about it, you make the gift about yourself rather than their kindness. The right way is simple smile, acknowledge the appreciation, and say, thank you. Nothing more is needed. That simple response shows balance. It honors the person giving the praise, and at the same time, it shows you are secure enough not to shrink or inflate. There's a beautiful story of an artist who painted a masterpiece. When people praised him, he would bow his head and quietly say, thank you. Someone once asked him, why don't you reject the praise or boast about your skill? He replied, because the art was not mine alone. My teachers trained me, my hands were gifted by life, and the colors came from the earth. I am simply a channel. That humility did not reduce his greatness. It made him even more admirable. Confidence is calm. It doesn't panic when praised, nor does it grab the spotlight with greed. Arrogance, on the other hand, turns compliments into fuel for ego. Have you seen someone who takes one small success and suddenly behaves as if the world revolves around them? That's arrogance. On the other side, have you seen people who can't accept a single kind word, always doubting themselves? That's insecurity. And confidence is the balance. It lets praise land gently, like rain on the earth, without flooding or rejecting it. Accepting compliments gracefully also deepens relationships. When you receive appreciation with gratitude, you create a positive exchange of respect. People feel acknowledged for noticing your effort. But if you dismiss their praise, they may feel ignored. And if you boast, they may feel pushed away. Grace in handling praise shows maturity and balance. It proves that you value both yourself and others. So next time someone compliments you, don't deny it, don't inflate it, simply embrace it. Thank you. Spoken with humility can carry more confidence than 1,000 words of self-praise. That is the secret. Confidence is quiet grace, not loud ego. One of the clearest signs of real confidence is the ability to admit mistakes. Think about it. Why do some people refuse to say, I was wrong? Because deep inside, they fear it makes them look weak, less capable, or less intelligent. But in reality, admitting a mistake does not reduce your respect. It increases it. People admire honesty. People trust those who have the courage to acknowledge when they fall short. Arrogance tries to hide mistakes. Confidence says, yes, I stumbled, but I am learning. There's an old saying, a mistake that is denied becomes a chain, but a mistake that is admitted becomes a teacher. When you deny your mistakes, you carry them like heavy luggage, always trying to cover them up. But when you admit them, they lighten into lessons that help you grow. Every mistake is like a mirror. It shows us something about ourselves we didn't notice before, but only if we are brave enough to look into it. Imagine two leaders. One makes a poor decision but refuses to admit it. He blames the team, the situation, or bad luck. Over time, his people lose faith in him because they see he is more interested in protecting his image than in learning. Another leader makes the same mistake but says openly, "That was my error. I should have chosen differently. Let's fix it together." Which leader would you respect more? Clearly the second one, because humility creates trust. Even in personal relationships, the power of admitting mistakes is huge. How many arguments continue endlessly just because both sides refuse to say, "I was wrong"? A simple apology can save friendships, strengthen families, and heal wounds. It doesn't take away from your dignity, it adds to it. There's a story of a sculptor who was carving a statue. Each time he made a wrong cut, instead of throwing away the stone, he carefully reshaped it. By the end, the statue looked even more beautiful because of the corrections. Our lives are like that. Mistakes don't ruin us. They refine us if we are willing to admit them. Confidence doesn't mean you will never make mistakes. Confidence means you are not afraid of making them because you know you can acknowledge, learn, and improve. Arrogance hides mistakes under pride, but confidence transforms mistakes into wisdom. And when people see you admit your faults, they feel safe around you. They realize you are human, just like them. That humanity is what connects us all. So never fear saying, "I was wrong." Those three words are not a sign of weakness. They are a mark of strength, because only the truly strong can admit when they have gone wrong. Success is a beautiful thing. It is the reward for hard work, discipline, and perseverance. But success also carries a hidden test, the test of character. How we treat others when we rise says far more about us than the success itself. Many people are humble while struggling, but once they achieve recognition, wealth, or status, they forget the very hands that helped them climb. True confidence is not about shining alone at the top. It's about remembering to extend kindness even when you no longer need to. There is a saying, if you want to know a person's real nature, don't watch how they treat the powerful. Watch how they treat the powerless. Anyone can be respectful to a boss or a celebrity, but how do they speak to a waiter, a janitor, or a stranger on the street? Success has a strange way of making some people arrogant. They begin to see themselves as above others. But the truly confident never forget their roots. They understand that humility and kindness are what keeps success meaningful. Let me share a small story. A famous actor was once asked why he always greeted his driver, his staff, and even strangers with warmth. He replied, "Because when the cameras stop rolling and the lights go off, I am not a star. I am just a human being, and every human deserves respect." That is kindness and success. Notice, he didn't let fame change his basic humanity. And that, in truth, is what makes success even more admirable. When life lifts you up, it's easy to feel invincible. But remember this, No one climbs a mountain alone. There are mentors, friends, family members, and even silent supporters who played their part in your journey. Forgetting them is arrogance. Remembering them is confidence. Gratitude expressed through kindness is what protects your success from becoming poison. Also, kindness in success has a ripple effect. When you rise and lift others, you create a culture of support. People admire you, not only for what you achieved, but for how you made them feel along the way. On the other hand, arrogance may bring temporary admiration, but eventually breeds resentment. No one likes to be around someone who uses success to belittle others. So, the real measure of success is not the size of your bank account or the number of your achievements. It's the size of your heart after you achieve them. Confidence allows you to say, I have succeeded, but I am still equal to you. That kind of kindness doesn't make you smaller. It makes you unforgettable. One of the clearest differences between confidence and arrogance is the attitude toward learning. A truly confident person is always willing to learn, no matter how much they already know, while an arrogant person believes they have reached the finish line of knowledge. But life, my friends, never runs out of lessons. The moment we think we know everything, we stop growing. The moment we stop growing, we begin to shrink. Think of water. Flowing water stays fresh, but stagnant water begins to smell. The same is true with knowledge. If we keep learning, we stay fresh, adaptable, and relevant. But if we stop, we become rigid and outdated. Confidence understands this. It says, I know something, but I can always know more. Arrogance, on the other hand, closes the door with, I already know enough. Don't waste my time. That single mindset determines whether a person continues to rise or begins to fall. There's a story about a wise man who was invited to speak to young students. Instead of giving a lecture, he picked up a glass of water and filled it halfway. Then he poured more until it spilled over. Smiling, he said, this glass is like an arrogant mind. It thinks it is already full, so nothing new can enter. But if the glass remains half empty, if it leaves room, it can always take in more. That is the essence of learning continuously, keeping enough humility to remain teachable. In practical life, this means reading, listening, observing, and asking questions. It means being curious about people, about cultures, about skills, about the world. Every single person you meet knows something you don't. The janitor might know how to fix something you can't. The child might remind you how to laugh without reason. The elder might teach you patience without words. Confidence makes you open to these lessons. Arrogance makes you blind to them. Also, continuous learning keeps us humble. When you discover how vast knowledge really is, you realize how small you are. No matter how high you rise in one field, there are countless areas where you are still a beginner. This awareness is grounding. It prevents the ego from swelling too much. So keep learning. Learn from books, from experiences, from people, from failures, and from silence. A confident person sees themselves as a student for life. Arrogance wants to be the teacher in every room, but confidence is willing to sit in the back row, to listen and to grow. One of the greatest traps people fall into is comparison. We look at others, their wealth, their looks, their careers, their achievements, and then measure our own worth against theirs. If we appear ahead, our ego inflates. If we appear behind, our confidence collapses. But this constant comparison is dangerous because it ties your sense of self to something outside of you. True confidence doesn't come from being better than others. It comes from being better than your past self. When you live in comparison, happiness becomes impossible. Imagine running a race where every time you look to the left or right, you slow down, you lose focus on your own path, stumbling not because you are weak, but because you are distracted. Confidence says, my journey is my own, my pace is unique, my story cannot be compared. Arrogance, however, feeds on comparison. It says, I must prove I am above others. But here's the truth. You don't rise by pushing someone else down. You rise by lifting yourself up. There's a small parable of a crow that once looked at a swan and thought, how white and beautiful the swan is. I must be the ugliest bird. The swan, however, looked at a parrot and thought, the parrot's colors are so vibrant. I am so plain. The parrot admired the peacock, and the peacock, believe it or not, envied the crow because the crow was free to fly anywhere, while the peacock was trapped in cages for its beauty. This is what comparison does. It blinds us to our own blessings. Confidence is about embracing your uniqueness. Just as no two fingerprints are alike and no two life journeys are the same, your strength may not look like someone else's, but it doesn't mean it is less valuable. The tree that gives shade cannot bear fruit, and the tree that bears fruit may not give shade, but both serve a purpose. Similarly, your value does not depend on matching someone else's achievements. Separating confidence from comparison means shifting your question. Instead of asking, am I better than them? Ask, am I better than who I was yesterday? If you are learning, improving and growing, even a little, you are succeeding. This mindset keeps you grounded and peaceful. It frees you from jealousy when others rise and from pride when you rise. So let go of comparison because it is the thief of joy. Focus on your growth, your lane, your calling. True confidence is not about being ahead of others. It's about being at peace with yourself while moving forward one step at a time. Gratitude is one of the most powerful qualities that keep confidence pure and free from arrogance. When you look at your life and recognize that every blessing you enjoy has come not only from your effort, but also from the support of others, from opportunities given, and from grace beyond your control, you cannot help but feel humble. Confidence grows beautifully when it is watered by gratitude. But arrogance begins when gratitude is forgotten. Think for a moment. When someone climbs a mountain, do they do it entirely alone? No. There are guides, ropes, equipment, and sometimes even a whole team supporting from behind the scenes. In life, too, we never rise entirely on our own. Parents, teachers, friends, colleagues, and even strangers have played their part in shaping us. A confident person remembers this and says, "Yes, I worked hard, but I am also grateful for the people and circumstances that helped me." Arrogance erases these memories and says, "It was all me. I did it alone." There's a touching story about a farmer who won a prestigious award for growing the best corn in his region. A reporter asked him his secret. The farmer smiled and said, "I share my best seeds with my neighbors." Surprised, the reporter asked, "But why would you give away your advantage?" The farmer replied, "Because the wind carries pollen from field to field. If my neighbors grow poor quality corn, it will affect my own crop. For me to succeed, they must succeed too." That is gratitude in action, recognizing interconnectedness and practicing kindness from that awareness. When you practice gratitude, you shift your focus from what you lack to what you already have. This shift naturally makes you more confident because instead of seeing your life as incomplete, you begin to see it as abundant. Gratitude doesn't mean you stop striving. It means you strive with a heart that is content, not desperate. Arrogance often grows from a sense of entitlement. I deserve more than others. Gratitude, however, whispers, I am thankful for what I have, and I respect what others have too. Even small daily acts of gratitude make a difference. Saying thank you sincerely, appreciating the efforts of those around you, acknowledging the blessings in your life. All these habits strengthen your character. They remind you that success is not a solo performance, but a symphony of many contributions. Confidence with gratitude is like a tree heavy with fruit. It bends gently, offering its gifts. Arrogance without gratitude is like a barren tree, standing tall but giving nothing. Gratitude keeps you rooted, balanced, and open-hearted, no matter how high you rise. One of the simplest signs of true confidence is approachability. The more secure a person feels within themselves, the more open, kind, and easy they are to talk to. On the other hand, arrogance often builds walls. Arrogant people carry an invisible sign that says, "Don't come near me, I'm above you." Confident people carry a different sign. "I see you, I respect you, and I am open to connect." Think about the people you admire most. It's not always their wealth, power, or fame that leaves a mark. It's the way they made you feel in their presence. A smile, a small gesture of kindness, or the willingness to listen can create more influence than grand speeches. Approachability is like a gentle fragrance. It draws people closer without force. There's a beautiful story about a king who disguised himself as a commoner and walked among his people. He noticed that some citizens were too afraid to speak openly to him when he wore his crown, but when he dressed as one of them, they shared their joys and struggles freely. The king realized true leadership wasn't about creating distance, but about closing the gap. That's exactly what confidence does. It narrows the distance between you and others, making them feel safe and respected. Approachability doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean allowing people to walk all over you. It simply means carrying yourself in a way that others feel comfortable being themselves around you. You can be firm and still be approachable. You can be strong and still be kind. In fact, people are drawn more to those who balance strength with warmth. In daily life, staying approachable can be as simple as greeting people with a genuine smile, making eye contact, or showing interest in what they have to say. Small acts of politeness, holding the door, thanking someone, acknowledging effort, speak volumes about your character. Arrogance looks past these things, too absorbed in its own importance. Confidence notices them because it recognizes value in everyone. The truth is, people may forget what you achieved, but they will never forget how you treated them. Being approachable allows you to inspire, to guide, and to connect in ways arrogance never can. It makes you magnetic, not because of your power, but because of your humanity. So, the more you rise, the softer you should become. Let your confidence make you easy to approach, easy to speak with, and easy to respect. That openness doesn't take away from your strength, it multiplies it. Confidence and humility are not opposites. They are two wings of this same bird. With only self-belief, a person may fly high but risk crashing into arrogance. With only humility, a person may stay grounded but never discover their full potential. The real strength is in balancing both, believing in yourself without dismissing others, and staying humble without underestimating your own value. Self-belief is important because without it, nothing begins. If you don't believe you can, you won't even try. Think of an athlete stepping onto the field. If they doubt themselves, half the game is already lost. Confidence gives you the courage to step forward, to take risks, to pursue dreams. But if that confidence grows unchecked, without humility, it turns into pride. Pride says, only I can do this. I am better than everyone else. Humility, on the other hand, balances this thought and whispers, yes, I can do this, but others can too, and I can learn from them. There's a story of two seeds lying in the soil. One said, and I will wait. The world is dangerous. I should stay hidden. The other said, I believe I can grow and I will push through. The second seed sprouted, broke through the ground and grew into a plant. But it bowed gently whenever the wind blew. It had belief in its strength, but also the humility to bend when needed. That's the perfect example of confidence balanced with humility, standing tall, yet flexible and grounded. When you combine humility with self-belief, you become unstoppable. You are strong enough to act, but wise enough to listen. You celebrate your victories, but you also acknowledge the contributions of others. You carry yourself with pride in your heart, but not pride in your head. People feel drawn to you because they sense both your strength and your softness. In daily life, this balance shows up in small ways. It's when you confidently share your ideas in a meeting, but also stay open to feedback. It's when you work hard for your goals, but don't mock those still struggling. It's when you celebrate your achievements without feeling the need to shout them from the rooftops. This balance protects you. Too much self-belief without humility makes you blind to your flaws. Too much humility without self-belief makes you blind to your strengths. But when the two are blended, you walk with quiet power, the kind that inspires respect, not fear, the kind that uplifts, not intimidates. So, the real art of confidence lies in this balance, believing deeply in yourself while never forgetting to bow your head in humility. That is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength.